Alright, what is up everyone? Doing a quick recap on today. Bit of a weird day, honestly. I feel like I didn't trade my best. I've got a reason for it, but ended the day nicely green with a couple of good trades. That's nice. I decided last night after recording that I would change my approach for getting funded. And it's something I actually have suggested to people in the past. Essentially, when you have an edge and it's like pretty certain that you have an edge and you don't really need to keep on proving that anymore, then getting funded kind through like a normal method of trading one or two minis or micros or however you would normally do it if you were trading a live account, it doesn't really make much sense. And the reason for that is it really builds up a lot of emotion. So I was sensing that a lot in my trading. If I didn't get a really nice setup and it was kind of okay, I'd take on the EVAL. And I saw yesterday that those couple of bad trades that I took on my EVAL account ended up me just feeling really bad at the end of the day and not executing how I should have done. So my approach has changed, and now what I've decided is that when I get a setup, I took full size. I took 10 contracts, and it was very much a case of will I get funded or will I not? And the answer to that was on, and I didn't do it very well today, but on one of the evals I have now hit the goal. I'm at $53,005, so that will be my fourth account that is funded. Um, Being brutally honest, if I had taken 10 contracts on the three legitimate setups today, I'd have got funded two more times. So, a little bit annoying that I didn't do that, but it got some bad trades, I guess, out of my system. And as you can see here, my live account, I end up $790 after fees. That's more like $750. So overall, a pretty good day. I do need to put in 9 days on this account now of rolling over. I take a micro, get in and out. It's only $6 to play with, so most likely I'll have to take a trade at some point and try to make a few dollars, but it's not going to be particularly difficult. So fingers crossed that should be pretty straightforward, and in a couple of weeks I will have PA4. So what I'll do is I'll quickly go through my trades on my live account, then I'll show the mess of my evals. So I'll talk about this trade later on because I took it anyway. The first trade that I ended up taking on my live account, we put in this beautiful double top at the pre-market highs right in here. And it also puts in a bit of a double top here, and you get that really nice sideways price action. That's sort of like accumulation, which is normally a good indicator that things are about to roll over. And we get below the 50 EMA, and where I made a bit of a mistake was I put this flag in, and I thought, okay, if we break this flag, I want to get short. And I don't hate that as an idea, but the problem was we pushed through the 50 EMA by maybe a little bit too much. It's probably okay, but where my entry is, it's just a little bit too early on. It's before the likelihood of a of momentum coming in. It's not quite there. It's when you see my other setups, it's not quite good enough. It's not holding below the 50 EMA. So this isn't a great trade. Part of the reason I think that I wasn't fully watching, so I just put the order in, was I also had the 10 contracts order on my on one of my PA accounts and got in at the same time. So there was a lot of added emotion because I was thinking about I could get funded again, etc., etc. So this isn't like the worst trade in the world. I definitely have an edge here. I just get in a little bit too early. I probably should have waited to see what this candle did. I also maybe got a little bit unlucky because where I got in, I got ticked in right at the bottom. If I had my order set at like 52.50, I wouldn't have got filled. So slight bit of bad luck, but in at 53.50 and out at 62.50 for a 9-point loss on two contracts. And then probably the easiest trade of the day for me. We got back under the 50 EMA, and I love this way. The way the price is kind of like just holding. It can't get back above it, can't get back above it. It's clearly weak. And I got in a tiny bit earlier than maybe I should have done. Maybe I should have waited for this to break. But when I had these 3 or 4 candles just set up so nicely, I thought we're going to get in this and anticipate the break lower. And I got in at 16.549.50. This candle happened within a second or two, and I wasn't able to move my take profit. And I'd have probably got out for like 8 points. I was only risking. Let me just double check in at 25. I was only risking about 10 points on this. So if I'm risking 10, I know my average loss is going to be more like 7 or 8. So when it came down, I was a little bit like, oh no, I could have taken profit. And it popped back up, and I was at this point a little bit frustrated that I didn't. I'd moved my stop a bit, but fortunately it came back down. Honestly, I could have done better here. I got half my position out for 8 points at 16.541.50, and I could have been a little bit greedy on this and targeted like the 36s, 37s, because I knew that when this broke, we were going to get this big move. You just always do when you get a support break like that. You know you're going to get a big move. It's at a very key area here, and it was just one seller could come in and really get a big flush. So could have got a little bit more, but I'm okay with this. And then my final exit, you can see my target was actually going to be down. I think my stop was maybe one tick less than that. My target was actually here, and there was no reason for me to really get out at 26 other than it came down, it wicked, and it was holding there for a second, so I just took it off. I missed out on 6 or 7 points there. Bit sloppy, but not the end of the world, given that my average, I mean, I always look at this, my average risk is probably like here, and we can see that I did pretty much get the 1 to 3 on what my average risk would be there. So that was a really nice trade, pretty clean. And then we got nothing for quite a while, and this was a real kind of like a test of patience. Um, I believe that I tried to take another trade somewhere with my evals. I think there may be one here and one somewhere else. I'm not sure, but um, essentially this period here, this was very, very difficult price action, very choppy, nothing really happening. And my opinion was, well, I'm just not going to get a trade in here. And even in here, it looked like I was going to get a long, but something told me that price action just wasn't worth it. And as a result, I didn't consider taking a trade here. And instead, I began identifying that this high here lined up with all of this resistance, and that instead I should look for a short. And the first trade that I was looking for was actually going to be in here. And I just didn't really know where to put my entry. I hated the idea of getting in at like 16,502 right before the 500 level and having quite a wide risk. So I was kind of going back and forth as to whether I wanted to get in on this, and I tried to get in right here. I moved my order just a tiny bit too slow because I used stop markets to get in to try to get 1504, and it would have been around about 11 point 11 point stop. And had I taken that, I'd have locked in 8 points, and the rest most likely would have been stopped out for break even. So I was a little bit gutted to miss out on that trade. But I was able to stay pretty composed and waited for another setup, and I got a beautiful flag back into the 50 EMA. Really good entry here at 1496.75. Again, I could have got a little bit more, but I got around about 7.5 points on the first piece. And my final target, again, this one I'm less frustrated at myself for getting out early. This was around about the target into the low 70s, 71, 72. And we kept on bumping into this support area here. And these candles were lasting like over a minute. So we were down here for quite a bit of time for me. And when we went through, bounced, went through, and just weren't able to continue, I just took it off. I could have got an extra 5-6 points out of this one, but nothing crazy. So yeah, so that was my live account. I was debating between taking a long. I think I took a long actually on a sim account in here. But it was a bit of a messy setup at the wrong time of day. Let's now really quickly get up some of my evals. So we'll start on the eval that I hit the target on. And the funny thing is, it actually turns into a real mess. So this setup here was actually really nice. The reason I didn't take it on my live account was because typically I've seen that when we're in this very tight range, you can see here the lows in the 16,445, the highs at 16,500. So it's only around a 50-point range for the first half hour. Typically, when I see this, my edge is not quite as good because I'm relying on a high of day to break. I was looking at this and I was very close to taking it on my live account, and it is one of those setups where I would classify it as technically this is a setup, right? Technically, we put in a double bottom, we've got to 50 MA and held. Something told me that I shouldn't be taking this on my live account. It just felt not right for whatever reason. And I would rather err on the side of caution of that and not take those trades. And if they work, then great, I can build my intuition a bit. And if they don't, then I won't take a loss. So I ended up taking 10 contracts on my eval account here at 16,480 and a quarter, and it popped up, and I ended up taking the trade off. And this was a bit silly of me. I should have just let it run to target, which was around about 15 and a half, 16 points. I think I need to change it to 16 points because when you take 10 contracts, the fees are a little bit bigger. So I probably need to go for 16 points. But as you can see, I should have probably I'm in at 80, 50. I should have just set the target for 16 points and walked away, and then said I'm either funded or that account gets blown. Instead, it got really close, and I thought, I'm almost there. I'm just going to take it off and find a way to make the other 5, 600. So I took it off, and what then happened was a lot of me taking 4 or 5 contracts, getting in, getting out, getting in, getting out, and just trying to find a way to make the extra 500. And at one point, I actually gave back around about $1,000 of profit. But eventually, I took a couple of fairly large size longs and got funded through scalping. It's not really the way to do it, but to make an extra 500, it worked out fine. So that was that account. I'll quickly move it over here to get up the other one. So we then had number 14. So number 14, this one I would say probably wasn't a legitimate setup. I saw this support area and felt that we'd held this support, and we also held the breakout, and I thought this might actually be a legitimate long. And again, I didn't take it on my live account, which is a bit of an indicator that I should have been just waiting. I jumped in long with 10 contracts here with an average of 16,512. It did pop up around about 10 points, so it honestly it got within 5, 6 points of me getting funded, but it pulled back and stopped me out. The ironic thing is that if I'd taken this trade, my stop probably wouldn't have moved. I'd have got in here and been risking 10 points and potentially wouldn't have even got stopped out, but it wasn't a good trade. So stopped out of that one, blowing the account. And then the final eval that I guess YOLO'd is probably the correct terminology here, but I'm trying to do it in a manner that is not just taking random trades. As you can see, I took that same trade as I took on my live account, so I took the loss there. And like I said, if I had have waited and taken this, I think there's a pretty good chance. It depends. Like if my entry had been around about, you get a little bit slippage at 48.50, it did come down and it was up 7 points, and then it went against me 5, so it would have been right on the cusp of getting stopped out anyway with the $2,500 trailing drawdown, so it might have got stopped out. And then the final one, if I'd have waited for this, it would have also got funded. So my goal going forward now is to not trade any more evals. I'll bring over my results again. And the main reason for that is I've got 3 live accounts with 1 more coming. My goal for the end of January was to be trading multiple accounts. And for me to do that, I need to get my live account probably to around about 54, maybe even 54,500. And the reason I want to do that is I don't want to be trading it right now with, $2,100 of drawdown to begin trading a second live account alongside it, to take a $2,500 hit and to blow 2 accounts. So for me right now, my goal is going to be, much more, okay, taking only the best setups, trying to improve my accuracy a little bit. As I mentioned yesterday, my accuracy has been pretty poor. I can actually show you the graph that I put up, but I didn't show on here. So essentially, this graph here shows, this was up until today, so it's a little bit different now, but this graph shows my results since the start of November. Essentially, I'm up just shy of $7,000, and after today, that will obviously be more like 7,500, which is nice. But the orange line is if I remove all of the bad trades. Now, you're never going to be able to take away all of the bad trades, but we can see that the potential of the strategy is around 20,000. So I've only been able to pull out probably around about 30 to 35% of the potential, and the potential is probably even higher because it doesn't include the trades that I miss. And it assumes that when I take a good trade but then get stopped out too early because I moved my stop like I did yesterday and I miss out on 30 or 40 points, that it was executed well. So the potential edge is even higher, which means that I'm probably only pulling out around 25% of my overall edge's potential. So I need to work quite a bit on this. I would like to be at a point where I am taking maybe 65% out. That's sort of like the long-term goal. I think if I can achieve that, I'm trading at a pretty good level. Anything above that would be a real bonus. So my performance hasn't been great recently. It's not been horrible, and I am still making money, which is good. Um, but the goal, like I said, if I can improve that execution a little bit and get to a point where I've taken this account that's currently at 52,300 to around about 54,000, maybe even higher, maybe even not that much, maybe like 53 and a half, then I'll be pretty comfortable trading a second account alongside it, and then things begin getting a little bit interesting because although I have longer term goals in terms of like I want to build these accounts to 10k of profit to then take out the profit just every couple of weeks. A day like today where there was actually potential to take a lot, but a day like today, even where I make 750, if I'm trading two accounts, that's 1500, which is starting to get to pretty pretty good numbers there, and that's where things begin to get a little bit fun. So hopefully we'll be able to see that before the end of the month. But as for now, I'm okay with today's trading. Like I said, I missed out on this long here and potentially some opportunities over here as well. So definitely not the best, but feels like things are moving a little bit in the right direction. Another decent green day, and I'll be back with tomorrow's recap.